Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something incredibly exciting. We're literally taking hours upon hours of raw, unfiltered advice from some of the most successful self-made billionaires on the planet, and we're distilling all of it down into a single actionable playbook. We're going to explore the exact mindset, the sheer grit, and the contrarian thinking required to actually achieve that level of success. Okay, let's dive right into this. We've organized this massive amount of wisdom into 5 core pillars: discovering passion and purpose, the courage to risk, the reality of hard work, innovation and embracing failure, and finally, the ultimate investment, yourself. Let's start right at the foundation with pillar number 1, discovering passion and purpose. Every great venture really starts with a profound internal drive. It's an idea that has its roots in this incredible quote from the ancient text of the Gita. It is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. Purpose isn't about what you're doing tomorrow, right? It's about looking deeply at yourself and identifying your destiny 10, 20, or even 30 years from now. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the tension between living your dreams versus living the expectations of others. One of our sources shared this deeply personal, kind of wild story about this exact conflict. He was a college dropout, working as a programmer, and he compromised with his frustrated wife by taking a sailing class at the Berkeley Marina. Well, he absolutely fell in love with the ocean. He wanted to buy a sailboat, but his wife told him it was literally the stupidest idea she'd ever heard. She called him irresponsible, said he lacked ambition, kicked him out, and divorced him. Plus, his family was already mad he didn't go to medical school. But here's the massive takeaway. He realized he was finally living his own dreams, not theirs. He vowed never to confuse the two again. He chose his own imperfect destiny over a perfect imitation. And that brings us to pillar number 2, the courage to risk. And this brilliantly illustrates what taking a calculated risk actually looks like in practice. Let's trace the origin story of Amazon. At year 0, the founder is sitting pretty with a highly lucrative, totally secure job at a New York City financial firm. Then, on day 1, he goes to his brilliant boss during a walk in Central Park and pitches this crazy idea to sell books on the internet. The boss essentially says, "Hey, great idea, but it would be better for someone who didn't already have a good job." He takes 48 hours to think about it, and ultimately, he chooses the less safe path. Why? Because he knew he wouldn't regret trying and failing, but he would absolutely be haunted forever by a decision to not try at all. He took the risk before life's obligations locked him down. This leads to a truly crucial distinction: gifts versus choices. Gifts are easy, right? They're just handed to you at birth. Intelligence, raw talent, maybe a knack for math. Choices, on the other hand, are agonizingly hard, but they are what define you. The big warning here from our billionaires is to not seduce yourself with your gifts. It is so incredibly easy to just coast on your natural talents and take the safe, comfortable road. But in the end, we are our choices. Building a great story from scratch demands making the hard choices, not just relying on the easy gifts. All right, moving to pillar number 3, the reality of hard work. We've talked about passion and risk, but honestly, none of that matters without the harsh execution phase. This is what working super hard genuinely means. Think about the early startup days of one of our visionary founders. They didn't even rent an apartment. They just rented a small office to save money. They slept on a couch, they showered at the local YMCA. They were so strapped for cash, they only had one single computer for the whole company. So the website was hosted on it during the day, and the founder was coding on that exact same machine all night, 7 days a week. That is the sheer level of sacrifice and sweat equity required to get an empire off the ground. And the reason they do this all comes down to simple math. It comes down to the number 100. If your competitor is working 50 hours a week and you are working 100 hours a week, the math is undeniable. You are going to get twice as much done in a single year as that other company. Success in these early stages isn't always about being smarter. A lot of the time, it's just about outworking absolutely everyone else in the room. Which rockets us into pillar number 4, innovation and embracing failure. Look, when you take massive risks, you are going to hit roadblocks. It's inevitable. But how you manage those setbacks is what defines your trajectory. Consider the actual definition of an experiment. If you know in advance that something is going to work, it is not an experiment, period. To invent and pioneer, you have to be willing to fail. Failure and invention are inseparable twins. And yeah, it's embarrassing to fail. It hurts for sure. But you have to brush off your knees and realize that failure is literally the mechanism by which innovation is achieved. To survive this constant cycle of failure, successful leaders adopt a really powerful mental model, being pessimistic in the short term, but optimistic in the long term. In the short term, you've got to be what they call positive paranoid. You manage your day-to-day operations by constantly asking, what can go wrong today? What is the absolute worst-case scenario? But, and this is key, you pair that daily paranoia with a stubborn, unyielding optimism about the future. You dismiss the prophets of doom because you believe, fundamentally, that your vision will ultimately win out. Let's walk through the steps of exactly how this contrarian mindset builds a titan, using the founding of Oracle as our guide. Step 1, you have a crazy idea, like, say, building the world's first relational database. Step 2, the collective wisdom of computer experts tells you that while it can theoretically be built, it'll never be fast enough to actually be useful. Step 3, you look at the experts and tell them they're wrong. At first, they're going to call you arrogant. Then they'll call you insane. But arrogance and insanity often turn out to be innovation in disguise. When the experts tell you that you are crazy, pay close attention. You just might be on to your life's most defining innovation. And here is a fantastic, slightly humorous twist on innovation from our sources. Let's totally redefine the word laziness. In the technology space, laziness isn't about doing nothing at all. It's about finding the ultimate leverage. I mean, why have 3 people answer a phone a million times when those same 3 people can just write a piece of software that millions of people can use automatically? True technological innovation is finding that absolute leverage in the world so you can be brilliantly, efficiently lazy. And that brings us to our 5th and final pillar, the ultimate investment, yourself. We all know the world is changing rapidly, and the only way to stay on top of it is continuous self-improvement. This foundational quote just hits the nail on the head. By far the best investment you can make is in yourself. Nobody can take it away from you. You can lose money, markets can crash, companies can completely fail, but the skills, the knowledge, and the resilience you build within yourself, those are entirely immune to inflation and they cannot be taxed away. You are, without a doubt, your own greatest asset. So the crucial point is how exactly you make that investment. Our sources provided a highly actionable checklist for us. First up, improve your communication skills, both in writing and in person. Believe it or not, doing just this can instantly increase your professional value by 50%. Next, carefully curate your circle. Associate with people who are better than you are because you're naturally going to drift in their direction. Pick your heroes deliberately. And perhaps most importantly of all, choose a spouse or life partner who is just a little bit better than you are. The people you surround yourself with are the ultimate return on investment. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a single, really provocative question pulled directly from our source material. Think about this. Will inertia guide you, or will you follow your passions? Will you choose a life of ease or a life of adventure? You are the author of your own story, and that story begins right now. The playbook is in your hands. What choices will you make today? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Now go out there and build something incredible.